Hi guys, thanks for joining me for another review by Second Amendment Solutions. Today we're going to be reviewing the FNP-45 Tactical. So let's go ahead and jump right in. Go ahead and do a safety check first. Kind of hard to see in there. Go ahead and drop the mag, empty mag, and chamber check it. Alright, well first things first, we'll go ahead and kind of break this down just a little bit. As you can see, I've got quite a few accessories on here. We'll go ahead and take off the TLR2 that I've got, laser and light. That comes off pretty easily. You can solid screw mount it if you want, which usually I do, but I went ahead and loosen that up to get it off easily. And we've already dropped the mag, and an empty mag well, and our 15 round mag, which we'll talk about in just a second. First things first, obviously this is the Dark Earth model. So the polymer lower, stainless steel upper. It is full size 45 ACP. The tactical barrel obviously has the threaded in there. It's got the thread saver on there right now. We'll just kind of go through it from front to back. As I said, you do have the thread protector right there on the front of the barrel. You do have to take that off to take the barrel out, which we'll see in just a second. Also, first thing to really kind of note is some interesting sights here. These are Trijicon sights. They are night sights. What's kind of nice about them is they do have a white ring actually around the tritium there. That helps out during the daylight, so you can actually see it, because obviously the tritium doesn't glow very bright, so it's not like you're going to see that during the day, but it's nice to be able to see that nice solid white ring there front and rear, as you can see. These are quite well made. I've had some in the past that haven't been, they haven't been Trijicon. Unfortunately, some of the ones on my Kimbers, they look like they've kind of been painted by a 4-year-old. These are not actually paint. It's actually a ring. That's actually a white ring that's in there. So they're pretty sturdy so far. They've worked pretty well. You'll probably notice first right off the bat that the sight seems pretty tall, and it is. And it's tall for two reasons. First off, so that you can put the suppressor on the end, or even a muzzle brake if you'd like, and that you'd still be able to see over that can or that muzzle brake. So that's part of the reason for the elevation. And secondly, pretty obvious here that having a RMR or some sort of reflex sight in the back, if you do choose to co-witness, as you can see right there, if you do choose to co-witness, you do need a little bit of elevation to get past the height of your reflex sight there. Originally, when this, I did actually buy this with I believe it was either a Dr. Dot or an Insight, I believe. Maybe it came with the Insight that was on there. It had an adapter plate that was on it, and unfortunately the adapter plate lifted up the RMR too high to where I couldn't co-witness. So I actually changed it out to a Trijicon RMR, the battery powered version, and was able to get rid of the adapter plate and was able to drop it back down. And within the last year I've switched again and gone to the dual illumination RMR Trijicon that you see on here now. The great thing about the dual illumination is that it does have obviously the fiber there to be able to suck in all the daylight, and then also if the case were to be that there wasn't any ambient light out there for the fiber optic to grab, then it would obviously be illuminated by the element inside. So a little bit of a drawback. It is a little bit bigger than just the battery operated one. I do have one on my Scar, which you'll probably see later. It is a little bit bulkier, but from my experience, to be able to have something that's going to illuminate, whether it's got batteries or not, was worth a little bit of the extra size. As far as weight was concerned, it wasn't really an option. This is not designed to be an ultralight pistol, not designed to be a concealed carry pistol. I suppose you could if you wanted to, but it's not necessarily designed for it. So anyway, being able to eliminate that mounting plate and dropping that RMR straight down onto the slide, we are able to co-witness through there. For those of you that aren't familiar with co-witnessing, it basically means you can use some sort of optic, a glass optic like this, or even a tube scope if you may have it on a rifle or something. And if something were to happen to that tube scope, or in this case, reflex sight, or say a holographic sight like an EOTech, if something were to happen to that optic, whether the batteries go dead or whether, heaven forbid, it take a round through it, you smashed it against a wall and the lens were to break, you would still be able to to see through that optic to be able to have a good sight picture. So that's co-witnessing right there. Anyway, moving on just a little bit. You'll notice that the hammer is back right now. We'll go ahead and drop the hammer safely. Safety is right here, and we'll pull it down. That's in fire, and if you pull it down one more click, that is going to decock it, so that does not engage the firing system at all. That does just decock it. We'll flip it back up to safe. We'll stay on the slide here. As you notice, it is a metal slide, of course. It's stainless steel. The barrel is also a cold forged stainless steel. It is a full size, obviously a typical, like what you would think of as a 1911 being a 5-inch barrel. Obviously the Tactical having a little bit extra barrel here on the end. I've got probably a little over 1,000 rounds through this thing, and I believe I've only had one malfunction, and that was probably an ammunition malfunction. I was shooting some less expensive ammunition that day, and it was just a stovepipe. It wasn't a failure to fire or anything. I just had to clear it out, and it was fine. So other than that, as far as operation from the gun itself, it's been flawless thus far, as have most all the FNH products that I've owned. I've been extremely happy with them so far, which is part of the reason I'm doing this video, is to kind of, for those of you that are interested or in the market, maybe in the market for it, to encourage you to check out FN. Anyway, moving on down the frame here. It is a poly frame. It does keep it nice and light, obviously corrosion proof, which is nice. Standard components, for those of you that are familiar, obviously breakdown lever here, slide release here, magwell release, as well as the safety and the decocking lever. Now what's really cool is everything here is ambidextrous, so you don't have to worry about switching back and forth. If you were, for those of you that are southpaws and have to immediately switch over your magwell release or even a safety, you don't have to worry about having either one or the other. You've got both, including the slide release there, which is really nice. And that's a common theme with so far all FN products that I've come across. So pretty nice there. Kind of moving on back, you've got the back strap here. It does come with, I believe it's 3 back straps. It comes with 2 that have serration like this, as well as one that has horizontal serration. I've gone with this one. It is a double stack magazine, which we'll see in just a second. So it is a pretty hefty pistol. For those of you that have small hands, you'll definitely want to go with a thin back strap, most likely. But whatever fits your fancy. It is a very comfortable rifle, or excuse me, pistol. But you'll notice that the serration is quite aggressive, which I actually prefer. Right now, I've been shooting a lot in the desert, so my hands get really sweaty. I don't like to shoot pistols with a right-handed glove on, actually gloves at all for that matter. So my hands do get kind of sweaty and get a lot of sweat on the grip. But having this nice aggressive grip here, it really does kind of bite into your hand. What's kind of interesting is actually once you've held it for a while, you kind of let it go. You can still kind of feel it in your hands almost. You can actually probably see some of the dimples on my palm right there. But I actually prefer the aggressive grip there. So anyway, I know I've kind of had my finger on the trigger here a lot. Might be making some of you guys nervous. Obviously, we have done the safety check already. But what I kind of wanted to point out to you is, which we'll talk about a little bit more here in just a second, is how smooth the trigger pull is. Obviously, double action and single action as well. But the trigger pull is extremely smooth. No overpull on the trigger. It has a nice crisp break to it. And really allows you to be quite accurate, especially with what's so great about the potential of the 45 ACP round being so accurate, especially over the 9mm round. But actually kind of able to exploit that with having a good quality trigger on there, combined with a good barrel. So kind of got all that stuff all put together, which is really nice. Anyway, let's go ahead and break it down just a little bit. As I said, the magwell, it is flared just a little bit, not much, not like on a 1911 where a lot of times you'll get some real exaggerated flares. Nothing like that. I haven't really ever encountered a problem with it. I'm not a 3-gun shooter, so I'm not typically looking for super rapid magazine, release and put another one in or anything like that. But for those of you that are, I highly doubt that you'll have an issue with that at all. Especially those of you in line of duty that might have to worry about that. Thus far, I haven't had any issues with that. So anyway, we'll go ahead and one last thing I wanted to mention. Obviously, you've got the forward serrations here as well as the back. They're They're good serrations. They're not real deep. But personally, I actually kind of like that. On a couple of my Ruger pistols that I've got, they've gone real aggressive with some of this, and they haven't done a very good job of polishing off the edges after they cut it, and it actually hurts your fingers quite a bit. So if you were to bite down on that, which you usually do with your hand, if you're going to do a just kind of do a breech check with your fingers, you want to check, just slide back from the front. It actually hurts your fingers. Here, it's not near as much of an issue. It's very comfortable, yet is aggressive enough, even with wet hands, to be able to pull that off. So I think they've done a real good job there as well. One thing I would like to see them have done is maybe put some sort of etching on the top of the slide here, maybe to help with a little bit of reflection light-wise. This upper, as you obviously can see here, is the desert upper, and the other second color option, of course, is the black on black, which is a flat as well. And this is a flat too. It's not a huge issue. I don't have really great light right now, as I'm sure all of you have been able to see. Unfortunately, I'm trying to get a little bit of a glare on there, but maybe a little bit of etching or something on top might have been a little bit nice. But I say all that to say that I haven't had a problem with it. So. But maybe something to look at in the future. So anyway, small piece of Picatinny here. Also for you inventory keepers, all your information as far as serial number as well as barcode, which a lot of companies are going to, is right there. The drawback to that is that if you do have something on that piece of Picatinny there, you would have to take it off to be able to scan that. So for those of you that are either in law enforcement or military wise, and you do have to scan those back in, you would have to take something off. And if it's just a light, it's no big deal at all. But for those of you that do actually use some sort of laser, in this case obviously 2-in-1 here, when you do take it off, you kind of lose a little bit of your accuracy. It's not much, and we're not using these lasers to touch out to 100 yards or anything like that, but you do lose a little bit of it, but it's not too big of a deal. So anyway, we'll go ahead and break it down. So I'll lock the slide back, as you can see there, and we'll go ahead and rotate the takedown lever. And then when I'm to break it down, I'm gonna hold it firmly and let that slide release go. Pulls apart just like most do. And we'll look underneath. No real surprises here. Recoil spring, so far it's been a very solid recoil spring. Something unfortunately I haven't been able to say with some of my Kimbers. Had to do a little bit of swapping there. First thing you'll notice about the spring is it's not your typical round metal spring. It's actually a stamped spring, which, like I said, thus far has been very good for me. So go ahead and take the barrel out. As I said earlier, you do have to take off your thread saver there to be able to take the barrel out. So I'll go ahead and drop that out, and then we'll slide the barrel out of the slide. So not really a whole lot to do in here as far as cleaning is concerned. This was actually out shooting yesterday, and put a couple hundred rounds through it. It actually stayed quite clean, and I was shooting very inexpensive ammunition, as a matter of fact. So, but not a whole lot to clean there. Obviously, if you're going to do the full breakdown, you'd be taking out some components in there, and I actually haven't done that yet. So anyway, here's our lower. As you can kind of tell a little bit, perhaps a little bit dirty in there, but not too bad. Very light. Something else to note: everything on this pistol that's not polymer is stainless steel. Every single piece, and that was at request of some of these special operators that were involved in the design of this pistol, was to have full stainless steel construction. All the components inside, the whole thing passes all the mil spec requirements for salt water and everything like that. So pretty nice there. Quite a few components in there. As I said, haven't had any failures or even failure to fire except for that one stovepipe. So not a whole lot of surprises in there. There's your release. And as I spoke earlier, obviously double action, single action, but an extremely smooth trigger. Now when you go for that first pull, it's a firm pull. However, when that thing finally breaks, it's nice and crisp, though, and it'll surprise you every time. So anyhow, we got our, as I said previously, I know I keep saying this, but I really do like how everything is ambidextrous. You don't have to move anything from one side to the other, which is really, really nice. So is a cold hammer forged steel, stainless steel barrel. So far, it has proven extremely accurate. It's more accurate than I am, as a matter of fact. It is a ramped barrel, as you can see here. For those of you that are not familiar with ramped barrels, what that means is just this little ramp right here. It assists the round going in the chamber to help prevent any kind of jams. Haven't had any breakdown or anything like that so far. The steel seems to be extremely high quality. Is marked for 45 ACP. I wouldn't necessarily consider it a what some would consider a a performance barrel or anything like that. But like I said, it's more accurate than I am so far. So, which that's probably not really saying a whole lot. But anyway, we'll go ahead and move on to the mag that I've got here. It's a 15 round mag, so it's 15 plus 1. Obviously, with numbers like that, with a 45 ACP, it is of course a double stack, and it does get pretty heavy. I mean, you can imagine almost what 3/4 of a 20 round box of 45 in the palm of your hand. As I think I previously stated, it's not a real light gun. You know, it's not something that you'd probably be willing to carry concealed or anything like that. But I suppose you could if you wanted. If you wanted to have plenty of firepower, and I wanted to have plenty of rounds there. So some might think that 15 plus 1's a bit much, but especially being in the field, we'd always rather have more ammo than less. So anyway, magazines have been so far have been 100% reliable. As far as the follower tilt, there is a little bit of tilt in the follower. But like I said, as far as performance is concerned, I haven't had any problem with the performance. So been very happy with that thus far. As you can see, this one hasn't been dropped a whole lot. The kit, I wish I could show you the entire kit. The gun comes in a very, very nice ballistic nylon zip-up case. Very, very well put together. Of course, for the money that you're putting into it, you would hope that you'd come up with something that nice. A lot nicer than some of the SIG boxes that you'll get, just a plastic case. It does come with 3 mags, so you're going to be getting 3 of these. One thing that I highly, highly recommend that you look into getting is a speed loader or a speed loader to go over the top of the mag to help, because once you get past about 10 or 11 rounds in the mag, you'll easily bruise your thumb getting those last few rounds in the top, trying to push on that spring. So you might invest in one of those. I have. You probably already have one. I've got a universal one that's good for most all my pistols, all my double stack magazine pistols. So that's pretty much it. I'm sure that I'll think of quite a few other things that I wish that I had said. As far as weight is concerned, it's just shy of about 34 ounces when it's empty. I believe it's like 33 and some change. So when you load up 15 or 16 rounds of 45 in there, it does get a bit heavy. However, that being said, I'm glad I mentioned it. Shooting is an absolute dream. It really is. 45 is my favorite pistol round. Most of the things I have are 45, and 45 can beat you up if you're on the range for a long time. But this gun is extremely well balanced, and I recognize the fact that I do actually shoot it with on the range with my light and laser combo on there, because it does stay. This does stay on my pistol all the time, and I prefer to shoot it as it is rather than to take it off and go to the range and practice and then put something on it. So I do practice with this, and this of course does actually help a little bit with recoil. It does obviously add some weight, but it does help with that muzzle rise after a round is just discharged. So I do recognize that. However, I have shot it quite a bit without the light laser combo in the front, and the recoil is extremely manageable. My wife is 5'10" and about a $130 soaking wet, and she actually prefers to shoot this over shooting her a little 380 carry, just because the recoil is so much nicer on it, not near as violent. Something else to mention before we go, they specifically designed the barrel to sit low on the bore, and obviously some of you are saying, well, the bore is the barrel, but they've lowered the barrel in the slide and basically tried to get the barrel as close to the palm of your hand as possible. And what that does is that basically allows for the recoil to go straight into your hand. And thus, it doesn't reduce the recoil, it just reduces felt recoil. You can't change the recoil unless you're changing the actual round itself, of course. But it being a little bit heavier of a pistol, and of course being full size, and that they've lowered the barrel a little bit more into the actual gun, it does help move that recoil straight back. Instead of having something up high that's going to pull the gun up as you shoot, or push the gun up as you shoot rather, it does help to just kind of push the gun straight back, which a proper grip will help assist in that. So with the combination of those two things, the recoil, you can shoot this gun all day long, go home and not even know it. So it's really nice, especially for the 45. So that's going to pretty much do it for me today. Please leave your comments or any questions that you may have. This is the first of many videos for me, and hopefully on my new channel. So look forward to hearing back from you, any kind of useful critiques and helpful criticism. So appreciate it. If you have any questions, like I said, feel free to leave them for me, and I'll try to get back and answer them. And if it's a good enough question or enough questions get asked, I'll make another video about it. So appreciate you guys, and we'll catch you sometime soon. Thanks.